It's time. Gentleman from California.
Mr. Speaker, for purposes of debate only, I yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Traficant.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized for 5 minutes without objection.
We are here now in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government. We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some that say it's a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. I'm going to support the rule. I'm not sure yet if I will support this budget. I want to hear an awful lot more, not being a member of the committee, and I'm not going to vote for things I don't understand or don't like. But let there be no mistake. After 12 years of Ronald Reagan and George Bush, we're standing here. And let me say this to the minority party. Every program Ronald Reagan wanted in 1981, he got. Reagan got it. There was a Republican Senate majority, and there were 70 Democrats in this House that might as well have been Republicans, and we have the program. And the major assumption was very simple. We're going to cut taxes, put money in the pocket of the American people, and when they spend this money, our gross national product is going to rise so great that even though we've reduced your tax liability on a percentile basis, we'll balance the budget, quoting Ronald Reagan in the fall of '82. It's going to take the fall of our Congress, I think, before that happens. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give this new administration a chance. Democrats gave Ronald Reagan a chance. But let me give one word of caution here today. America already has race wars. Let's be honest about it. We already have gender wars. Let's be honest about it. We already have age wars. Let's be honest about it. One thing this Congress better not get involved in and get trapped into is a class war on money. In America, if you cannot earn all that you can, there's something wrong, and there's no more a spirit of free enterprise. And I want to say this to the members. We may talk about taxing the rich, but the rich people have already taken their companies and their jobs out of America. Be careful that the rich people don't take their money out of America, because the government already raises our kids, defends our families, educates our kids, feeds our kids, houses our kids, and the government is doing a very poor job of it. I think mom and dad would be better utilized there once again. So I'm going to listen to the debate, and I don't know if I'll vote for this budget. And finally, I don't know if the budget makes one damn bit of difference, because we wave it all the time, and I don't think we've ever followed it. I think we've got an excellent chairman that worked hard, and if we're going to have a budget, we should follow it. If not, we once again as members waste both our time and the people's time. But let me say this just in closing. Today's not the mother of all debates and the mother of all decisions. When that tax package comes, you will have the mother of all votes on the floor. And let me say this. I'm not for voting any more taxes on the back of the American people, because I believe the tax of 1990 put us right here today. And I am very concerned about the tax packages being discussed in this Congress. I'm one Democrat that believes we should stimulate the private sector. We already have more government jobs than factory jobs, and I think that's an indictment on our Congress. One basic tenet of this Constitution, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and there can be no life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness in America without a job. And I'd like to see the mother of all debates center around the jobs bill. Yield back the balance of my time.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman from Florida.
Is there going to be RICO charges on Kiwanis members for colluding to send their money to the March of Dimes instead of the Red Cross? For God's name, if this is funny, Mr. Berman, I'd advise you to listen very carefully.
Mr. Traficant, the committee is not commenting on your demeanor, and I want you to stop commenting on the demeanor of the committee. You've done that several times. I've let it pass, but enough of that's enough. Now go on with your statement.
The nonverbal demeanor of a member of the committee has a reflection in the gallery's reflection on me, and I resent it. I expected to come out here to be expelled, because I think Congress doesn't like difficult positions. But this committee has been made up of people who have some understanding of law enforcement and adjudicative proceedings. You didn't allow most of my witnesses that I didn't subpoena. The only subpoena witness you allowed was Detour. None of the tapes I gave you or transcripts I gave you were introduced as evidence in court. I was even prohibited from discussing a vendetta against me. I was able to present no defense. Now, this 2001 business with the indictment is a facade. When the government clearly stated they started their investigation in '96. Well, they started an investigation in '83 if you'd listened to Kirchhoff, as soon as I beat him in the RICO case. '96 through 2000 was Janet Reno. Mr. Detour alluded to the fact that Janet Reno's name was brought up and that I was a target of the administration. I've been the target of administration for a long time because I disagreed with President Clinton. I think he should have welcomed and urged the Congress to investigate that Chinese money. Now, I can't prove this, but it's evident that quite the contrary happened. And I was the only member that was brazenly outspoken because I thought I was an affront to America and endangered our future. And because of my big mouth, I have been targeted. But you know, when you put somebody in jail for the rest of their life, and he's a fellow member of Congress who has been targeted no less, you should have some evidence. Now, you can provide all the paper trail you want, and you can derive all the insinuation you want. And you can have people come in there and parade in there and say this was the reason and that was the reason. There are only several key witnesses in this case, and they'd have either lost their livelihood and freedom or their family. That's what I faced in Cleveland. Now, as prudent people that have an understanding of law enforcement, and let's assume that you have this crook and you really want to get him. Are you trying to tell me they couldn't get an admission? Now, the American people throughout the country are resonating disgust over these hearings because they watch television, they have wiretaps, video cameras, hidden microphones, a microphone that you could disguise in your ballpoint pen. They could pick up a conversation from 2,500 feet, but I was a quote-unquote touchy-feely guy. I had a super intellect and was so smart they'd never catch me. They were afraid to tape me. I might discover the tape. Come on. No FBI investigator out of 60 plus took the stand. Only a rookie who took so-called physical evidence to a lab that came out and said out of 1,000 documents, no prints. The judge almost swallowed her tongue when she heard that. The only IRS investigator wasn't an investigator. He simply took the numbers the prosecutor gave him, added them up, and said, I violated the law. I didn't even have a chance to cross-examine the investigators who brought my adversarial witnesses against me. What's happened to us, Congress? Am I different? Yeah. Have I changed my pants? No. Deep down, you know you want to wear wider bottoms, you're just not secure enough to do it. Do I wear skinny ties? Yeah. Coach, wide ties make me look heavier than I am, and I'm heavy enough. Do I do my hair with a weed whacker? I admit. But take into consideration what you're doing. The Democrat, and I agree with Mr. Obey, and I've had my run-ins with him. There's probably no one brighter in this whole place. Mike Myers, an FBI undercover agent posing as an Arab sheik, gave him $250,000, captured by videotape. And you let him go till after the break. The two members who violated a 17-year-old page boy and a 17-year-old page girl, which is rape in every state, were not expelled. If you know law enforcement and you got a target, you want a confession. And when you can't get that confession, you want an admission. And I am telling you this right now. They have more tapes on me than NBC. I did nothing wrong. That's why you go ahead and expel me. And I believe this judge is so afraid of what's resonating throughout America, who believe that they should not have to fear their government, and the Congress is their last hope to take it back. And I'm saying this, you Speaker, take it back. No American should fear their government, and this guy doesn't. And I'm ready to go. You expel me. It'll make it easier for me to really jack me good. But you know what you'll have done? You'd have taken the standards of a RICO case down to less than a DUI, where you need a .10 to get a conviction. Now let me tell you what happened to me early Saturday morning. I was up in Portage County, a new part of the district, Ted, and I didn't run against you because I thought I'd beat you easily, and I wanted to give you a break. I left my car, and at 2:30 in the morning I pulled out, and I got pulled over by a township police car and a county sheriff. The window doesn't work on the car, so I opened up the door. They couldn't see me but said, Mr. Traficant, can we see your registration and license? And it had dealer tags on it. I did. They asked me to get out of the car. They asked me to walk around the back of the car. They asked me to do my ABCs. Then they asked me to do this with all four fingers on both hands. Then they asked me to stand and put my left foot in front of my right, take 9 steps, stop, turn, and return. Then they asked me to lift my right knee with my left foot on the ground and count to 30. Try that. Then they said, reverse, put your right foot on the ground, pick your left knee up, count to 30. And I did that. They said, will you mind a breathalyzer? I said, knock yourself out. It was .001. Here's what I asked them. Did the FBI tell you that was my car and asked you to see if you can get a DUI on me? They looked at each other real funny. And I can't tell you exactly what I told them because of house decorum. But I told them if I find out it's an FBI agent that did it, I'd tear his throat out. And if they lied to me, I'd come back and tear their throat out. And they're not going to frighten me. I'm ready to go to jail. I'll go to jail before I admit to a crime I didn't commit. And there was never any intent to commit a crime. And when they start bringing letters that you send to cabinet members trying to help your people, folks, there was a dangerous precedent set in U.S. versus Traficant. I retain and reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves the balance of time.
And it ain't easy today, ladies and gentlemen, but it is your job. It is your duty. Uphold the integrity of this House of Representatives and vote to expel Jim Traficant.
Mr. Traficant, the gentleman from Ohio.
To Mrs. Biggert, I'm sadder than you are. To my colleague from Ohio, after the public hearings, 80 to 90% of the viewing public supports my position. Number 3, all the witnesses that testified against me at trial were either felons or would-be felons with no physical evidence. You are a very astute, legal, criminal mind. I just want you to think before you vote. The case of staff, they said one afternoon I invited them down to the boat. They did some sanding. It was a bonding thing, and they drank beer. The ones that came to the farm came to the weekend voluntarily. One used it as a health spa. The one guy that said he was there 300 times, I had it before the trial, but I heard he took $2,500 to bribe a judge in a DUI case. I thought they had no evidence, and I didn't even question him on it. I have a tape from one of his fellow trustees that I'll submit to the committee. His name is Jim Price, Weathersfield Township, relative to the testimony of that staffer that I won't mention. Look, show me the beef. You come up with a transcript. They didn't even bring an FBI or IRS investigator to stand. They're so afraid of me. And I'm going to tell you something you're not going to believe. My hands tied behind my back. I believe in my heart I won that trial. And that trial was manipulated. And I would not rush in haste. Now, if you don't expel me tonight, I am convinced the judge is going to put me in jail. She can't stand my guts. And she's deathly afraid of me getting on national TV because it's beginning to resonate around the country about how people do fear our government and why do we. And I expect you to expel me. It's going to hurt me when some of you do. Reserve balance of my time.
And Mr. Heffley has relinquished to Mr. Traficant the right to close, and you now have 3 minutes, sir.
You mean I was out of time? He gave me 3 minutes?
Well, he used all his time. No, you have 3 minutes remaining.
20 years, not one tape? Mr. Prosecutor from Missouri, am I that good? Come on. $1.3 billion not budgeted I brought back. Much of it from the help of the Republicans. Jack Murtha, Bill Young, thanks. 22% unemployment. They're now under 7 and we're still hurting. Proud of that. He said that I took money from companies that did me favors. Look at the testimony of Susan Butchie, and she said they owed me money. I brush hog 40 acres of their fields every year because her husband Dan was sick, and baled 25 acres of his hay every year for 5 years. My equipment, and never charged him. And she came to me when the brothers ripped her off. You know, there's something unusual here. You didn't elect me. Yeah, you have the right to throw me out. My people don't want me out. There's something that was not allowed to be brought, and I think Mr. Heffley and the committee give you great respect. But ladies and gentlemen, you passed the 1967 Jury Service and Selection Plan in the Northern District of Ohio before Traficant was indicted. Passed a jury selection plan that wasn't ratified till after my indictment. They excluded my people from my area that knew me and these witnesses from the jury pool. This isn't going to help me with the judge, but I think we have an aristocratic judiciary that looks at Congress like an advisory board. I think you better take that back. Not one person that knew me or these witnesses was on this jury. And you didn't subpoena one witness to validate that hearsay transcript. Now here's what I'm saying to you. It doesn't matter liking me. A lot of you don't like me because you get that $1.3 billion. I rated a lot of appropriation bills. But I want your vote. I want 145 votes, and I want to be able to go up, and I want to fight the Justice Department and the IRS. They put me in jail, you have a very easy vote, and I predict you will. I think as a member of Congress, I want you to just think of this. There may come a time where you might get targeted. You know what I was told? Watch what you say. You're too outspoken. Watch what you say. Shut up about the Reno case. I'm not going to shut up.
The gentleman has expired.
I want your vote because I think my vote is your vote, and my people elected me, and I don't think you should take their representative away. And with that, thank you for giving me the additional time, at least listening to me, and vote your conscience, nothing personal, and I hope I'm back and can get another $1.3 billion.
Speaker, I move the previous question on the resolution.
Without objection, the previous question is ordered. The question is on the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The opinion of the chair, 2/3 of those present having voted.
Mr. Speaker, on that I request the yeas and nays.
Recorded vote is requested. Those favoring recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number has arisen. A recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. This is a 17-minute vote.
Here's the breakdown of the vote to expel Representative Traficant. 420 voted yes, 1 voted no, and 9 voted present. Voting no, California Representative Gary Condon. Voting present, Representatives Bartlett, Bilirakis, Callahan, Ford, Hostetler, Otter, Simpson, Paul, and Young.
But when you look at this case, your counselor said Traficant got all this money. The record clearly reflects they went back 15 years looking for one person that I bought something from for cash. Not one. The one agent said he estimated to be 47 agents working on the case. Then a couple other names come up, and I kept adding them. Just in the FBI and Department of Justice, 60, and I don't know how many contract agents, not counting IRS agents. They don't bring an IRS investigator to the stand. None. He was a summarist. Said he did no investigation of Jim Traficant. The FBI agent was a rookie. Said he took the so-called currency in envelopes and plastic bags to the FBI to go to the lab, and the lab report says no prints. Jim Traficant has 2 scars on his right index finger, and when you talk about fingerprints, prosecutor, we talk about Galton points. And if you have a man who's in the midst of a powerful FBI, Treasury, Department of Justice investigation, handing an envelope that goes immediately to the FBI with dry hands, then you're looking at a special bird, buddy. Because out of 1,000 documents, they don't catch the scar on the right index finger of Traficant. Come on now, common sense. Can a plastic bag hold water? Manila envelopes, currency. True, go get some Charmin, or go get some napkins from the kitchen, and the porosity, very hard. But there's too many options there for 1,000 documents without one print, folks. So I'm just not going to be intimidated. The FBI in my valley has been connected with the mob, been paid by the mob for years. Their former FBI agent in charge just died, was not only on the payroll. When he left the FBI retirement, Mr. Berman, the mob appointed him chief police city of Youngstown, and that's in an FBI affidavit. One of the candidates run against me for sheriff come down here and testified before a Senate subcommittee and said how mob infested our valley was. Affidavits just come out that he got $80,000 in cash from the mob when he ran against me. My God. And look at a 1987-1988 Senate subcommittee hearing where a man named Lombardo, the underboss of the Cleveland mob, testified that Joseph Naples and James Prado admitted to killing a Charles Carabia to them, and there was never a grand jury hearing on James Prado and Charles Carabia and Joseph Naples, who were reputed to have strong connections with the judges in Cleveland, Ohio at the federal level. Never even a grand jury. Senator Glenn was at the hearing, by the way. In fact, he said, I think we need more money for the FBI down there. There's no evidence here. You have a hearsay transcript. That paper trail could be taken every which way you want. Yeah, I sent those letters. Advocated like mad. I'd do it again. But see, I think in America, here's the basic issue. If you allow one man's rights to be trampled or violated, or don't take every step or measure to ensure the sanctity of that Constitution, Bill of Rights, then you endanger every American. I think that's what my case is about. If you come out with something harsher than my ability to expel you, get ready for a fist fight. Other than that, give me the news. Because Mr. D'Souza is here from the Vindicator, and if you want to be defamed, there's nobody in America that can defame you like D'Souza. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, I want to inquire, how come there is no coffee at this hearing?
I think you should lodge an official complaint about that.
I move that the coffee from here on, when you execute a member, have coffee for his last demise. And you, Ms. Tubb Jones, who I endorse for Supreme Court, I'm totally disgusted with you that you have denigrated the fiber of my character, and I want you to stop it. Naturally, I'm kidding. I'm sure you probably talked a lot to Rhett and say, you know, I really like Jim, so you go ahead and get him. But other than that, are you all here? I will not go forward. I file a former complaint. If Mr. Pastor and Mr. Green who are usually unreliable and undependable do not attend. I read in the article, by the way, that the Democrats are going to pick up 40 seats. What do you think of that? I want to say this for the record. If Democrats pick up 40 seats and take over, God save the country.
Mr. Traficant, are you ready to proceed?
No, I'm not. I am worried that you're going to do something that's going to be very bad, foolish for yourself, and is going to force me to move on the floor to have each and every one of you expelled with not only sanctions, but some corporal punishment.
The committee will come to order. So we stand...
Do we stand adjourned or do we sit adjourned?
I'm told by counsel here that you need to affirmatively waive your right to appear this afternoon. If you think you might not appear.
I'm getting tired of all these legal eagles, and I don't waive a damn thing. Now, I'm either going to be there or I'm not, but I'm not going to officially waive it.
Okay, we will proceed at 2 o'clock, whether you're there or not.
Well, you weren't ready to go at 10 o'clock this morning, and I'd take
I would
offense.
encourage you to be there, and hope you will be there.
I think you weren't there because
We
Mr.
will proceed.
Holshoff was out drinking coffee.
We stand adjourned.
I sit adjourned. I may not have a seat anymore, but I want the committee to know I have great stool here. Yeah, I should talk about all those guys who get money from Enron. Thank you. Yeah, I should talk about all those guys who get money from Enron. Thank you. What you doing here? Who you with? National Public Radio. Oh, National Public Radio. You affiliated with Salvation Army?
No.
Community Chest? Red Cross? March of Dimes?
You know what?
Then you're familiar with the Land Shark? I won't talk to you.
All right.
No, I'll talk to you.
All right.
What do you want to know?
I'm wondering, are you planning to come this afternoon? Are you planning to fight this further? Any thoughts of resignation?
Is that a question?
Well, there are other people asking.
I'm going to confer with my legal advisor, Mr. Bertrand D'Souza. And after I confer with Counsel D'Souza, I will decide whether or not I will distill and digest more of this assassination, or if I will just constipate over it and extricate all that which I feel is unfair.
So, any chance of your resignation?
Why do you keep using that word? Do you really think I would resign? Really? Now, if you thought I would resign, then you'd believe that Anthony Bucci owned me, wouldn't you? Get out of my face. And National Public Radio, if you let them get away with this, someday they'll come into your own bedroom and monitor your sexual activities. Get out.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I get a picture with you?
I'd be honored. You ain't getting shit. Anybody else? Come on in here, big guy. Who do you work for?
Congressman Riley.
You tell him, watch, man, to get that Chirpy's canary disease, his appendage will fall off and vote against me.
Thanks, sir.
Anybody else? Because I'm getting out of here.
Thank you.
Other than that, anything you two goose members of the press who attempt to act as if you fit in down here, and you don't because of the way you dress, you can definitely tell you're from Youngstown. Well, we can tell you're from Youngstown.
Bertram, you could fit in New York, but you were always like that. You're a disgrace. You're disgusting. If I wore that tie, I'd be demeaned for 3 weeks. Chuck, you look ridiculous in what is that? A neon purple tie with suede buck shoes and a button-down collar and shades. And he even has his own little chain around his neck that says he's from the Tribune Miss Chronicle. That's all right. You know, you're all right. Your paper's worth shit, but you're all right.
Are you going to show up this afternoon?
Yeah. Am I going to show up this afternoon? Probably with my 2 hands. I may throw some karate shots in there. Actually, my body is a lethal weapon registered with the SS. I have my own number, Social Security.
Congressman, what will happen if you are expelled?
I don't answer questions from you ever. You have absolutely busted my balloon so many times, you do not deserve a response. Clear your questions with Mr. D'Souza.
Well, do you think that that's a valid question, Mr. D'Souza? Well, there you go.
Answer the question.
I mean, why not resign and not have to go through the committee?
If I had any inkling of guilt or intent to commit a crime, I would. But I want to go down on record and go to jail rather than admit to something I didn't do. And when there's no physical evidence whatsoever showing that I've been targeted from the highest levels, the administration wanting me out, Janet Reno and the statements I made about her, quite frankly, I'm going to fight these bastards. And if they expel me, I'll only be, hey, only the second one since the Civil War. But keep this in mind, the other one took money from an Arab sheik that was captured on a videotape.
Congressman Traficant, you said if they go ahead with this that you may start to talk about some of the other things you know.
Well, the other things I know, I would never talk about other members. Some of the members and the things they do are their business. There are always different standards. There are some members that are beyond reproach, and they have strong ties to the administration. I think the administration makes deals, no doubt about it, to protect certain members. I have always really, truly been an independent, even though I've been a Democrat down here. But I voted for what I think was best. I brought back $1.3 billion that wasn't asked for by anybody but me. I riled a lot of people to do it. I destroyed appropriation bills. They now have what are known as Traficant rules, so you can't destroy appropriation bills. And I manipulated the variables of operating in Congress from a very early start because of the fact that my area was so really hurting with a 22% unemployment rate, and I felt that I had to do something unusual, unorthodox, and had no political support and no news and media support.
But even if you think it's unfair what they're doing,
I would never talk about anybody else. Now, there's a lot of money and gifts for the senator's girlfriend and a lot of bullshit like that, and I'm just not going to get into that. I mean, those people someday should have to answer for that. But I think that now if we look at Enron and some of the other things that are happening around the country, there are big favors for many big people. I don't know any big people as evidence here. My following has basically been small people, and that's not just trying to sound and get some sympathy here, but I have friends in low places. And the people of the institutions have never supported me. I've never been supported by the major newspaper in my town, ever. I've never been supported basically by the Ohio Democrat Party that didn't want me. The congressional delegation when I was elected actually came out anonymously and said they didn't want me. I don't think anybody wanted me. And quite frankly, I think the Democrats right now, the leadership is very wimpish. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing. They should have never lost the House. And I think they've created 50 years of laws that now have to be reversed. I've reversed most of them. I take great pride in the fact that every American could know that the burden of proof in a civil tax case was changed because of James Traficant. And Bill Archer, Republican, made that happen. No longer can they come in and seize your home. The seizures of homes dropped from 10,067 to 51 in 50 states after my legislation was approved in the 98 Reform Bill.
Congressman, will you...
Wait a minute. I also made it available that if you're abused by the IRS, you could sue them for $1 million. And I'm not done yet. And I may survive this. And if lightning strikes, I will attend the America First Party in Orlando, Florida, even if I violate the law and they take me away in chains, and address the National Convention in Orlando on the 15th of August.
So how do you think? What do you mean you may survive this? You have resigned yourself to expulsion. You've said so.
Don't use the word resign. I don't know what they're going to do. They're probably going to expel.
Okay.
I have nothing against Congress, but Congress probably does what they think is the best for themselves. And I don't blame anybody for expelling me. After all, I'm the kind of candidate that looks to be expelled. I'm very dangerous. I open my mouth, I speak to what I think happens, and it bothers people, and I won't stop doing that.
Do you feel like the Democratic Party hung you out to dry here?
Well, again, I am an independent. The Democrat Party knows that. Republican Party knows that. And I am probably the true independent in the history of Congress. I came down here as an independent. Party labels have never really meant anything to me. I believe the Democrat Party failed when they turned their back on Jim Wright. I think the Republican Party showed loyalty when they saved Newt Gingrich on the same type of problems. I lost a tremendous amount of respect for Democrats who tried to advance their own cause by eliminating Jim Wright, who I thought was an effective speaker, and I think his problems were not worthy of his being dismissed. And finally, when the Democrat Party themselves did not insist upon an investigation, as I recommended, through both the caucus and on the House floor, of that Red Chinese Army general transferring cash to the Democrat National Committee that could ultimately endanger the future of America, I felt there was no hope left, and Washington was nothing but a political cesspool. And something had to be done. I believe, and I will say this because I don't know how much of an opportunity forum I have to say this, that America's future is endangered by that. I think Janet Reno was compromised, and she did commit treason by not in fact enforcing and calling for an investigation into that Chinese money ordeal with the Democrat National Committee, and I completely was soured on the Democrats after that.
And that's why you think they're coming after you.
No, I'm not saying anybody's coming after me for anything. I mean, the Justice Department knew what they were doing. They had a bullseye on my back for years. They went and visited a guy 15 years ago on a horse transaction. Mr. Detour put it down. They talked about Reno and the administration getting me out. He advised about the United States administration was in.
Mr. Latourette, for your information, you have 13 and a half minutes remaining. Mr. Heffley has 6. Mr. Berman has 3.5. The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, at this time it's my pleasure to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Paul.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the motion by the gentleman from Ohio. And it's not easy to do this, obviously, and it's difficult for all of us to be here, because it seems like on the surface there certainly was unethical, probably illegal, certainly bizarre behavior, and we feel offended by this, and we feel compelled to do something to prove that we're keeping our house in order. I am not an expert on the legal part of this, and I wouldn't pretend to, and the Ethics Committee deserves the credit for the effort they went through to dig out the information. But the process disturbs me, and that's why I wanted to take a minute or two to talk about that. It was made, the point was made earlier that the House's conditions are a lot different than the legal conditions, and therefore they're not as stringent. But we wouldn't be here if he had not been convicted. So that is key. That is the important issue. And that trial bothers me. I don't accept it as a good, fair, legitimate trial. I don't think all the witnesses were heard that should have been heard. And I think some of the witnesses may well have been, quote, bribed into doing and saying certain things. But there's more that bothers me. I would like to see the appeals process completed. I was here in 1984 on my first tour of duty here, and George Hansen case came up. And we voted then, I think he had FEC violations. He was voted and convicted, and we censured him. He lost his election. He lost his job, he lost his money, and he went to jail and served time. And then he was exonerated on everything. So I don't see the need to rush to judgment, certainly tonight. I'm not happy that when the gentleman gets to defend himself, he gets a total of... May I have
Has
one more minute,
expired.
please?
Minute.
Gentleman's recognized for additional minute.
When the gentleman finally gets an opportunity to come and defend himself, he gets 30 minutes? Really? And have you looked at the record that happened in Ohio? It's a stack like that? 30 minutes to defend himself? I don't think that's really fair. But there is another thing that bothers me, and that is the change of venue. I believe that the change of venue has been used historically in this country to make sure that the most horrible criminal gets a fair trial and gets moved out. Have you ever heard of a trial being moved for the benefit of the state and to the disadvantage of the defendant? It may have happened, but I don't know about it, and I think that in itself is a reason to step back, take a look at this, and vote for the motion by the gentleman from Ohio.
Mr. Heffley?